would kind of look at the somatics as the re-education process that it's meant to be. And, you know, it's kind of a difficult practice for some people who are very goal-orientated. So I always think that there's a higher number of artistic, creative types that enjoy somatics class because they're very process-orientated and they get a lot of pleasure in, you know, the whole, rather than the goal, the end result, they enjoy everything in between. So unfortunately, that's not me. I'm very goal-orientated, but boy, has it ever, the practice ever benefited my mental state. And also I feel like I've become more creative because I've been able to open up into kind of a more global thinking and really kind of fine-tuned my awareness. It's not only just physical, but it's, you know, it's also, the practice is a global physical benefit, but I think it also it infiltrates your emotional landscape, intellectual landscape, you know, so I feel like it's been a game changer for me. So for people who like to work out and sweat and, you know, win, it's really challenging practice. So, and for people who are beginners, I think that this is a really excellent practice because you don't have any expectations and you know, everything is new. So it's very stimulating at the level of the nervous system and brain. So the benefit comes to them more so. So I look around and I see us seasoned veterans, and it's more challenging for you because already there's a habitual train of thought that rises. You know, that's your brainstem kind of saying, oh, I know what's coming here, and you know, you can move into an autopilot. So the challenge is to change things for yourself to keep it interesting, so you get those new brain pathways forming instead of everything just coming from the brainstem, and you still get the benefit, but not so much. So how about coming to lie down onto the floor if you're not there already, and if you could just lie on your back with your head towards me. And please be sure that you're comfortable and warm, especially as we keep our airflow natural in here and kind of cooler airflow this morning. So give yourself a moment to just really fully arrive here. Can you have that sense of dropping down and dropping into yourself? Can you appreciate that this is a moment of communion between you and the earth? Can you appreciate this opportunity of really feeling like you're becoming grounded energetically? So imagine that you could open up the pores of your skin at the back of your body just a little more, so that that interchange of energy is a little more free. So there's a sense of softening into all of the points of contact between your body and the earth. And then take a nice easy breath in through the nose and out through pursed lips or the nose, and just let this be an unburdening. A couple more, and with every inhalation, invite a sense of lightness and openness. within yourself, and then with the exhalation, just that sense of dropping inwards, dropping down, and letting go. Maybe 3 times or as many as feels serves you. In this moment and throughout the class, just really settle in here. And sense gravity and its influence on your body now. It's drawing in of your body towards the center of the earth. So let your bones feel a little more heavy. Tune right into the depths of your physical being and feel the density and the weight of your head, shoulders and arms, the pelvis and the legs. Soften these soft tissues on the surface of your body, but all the way down to those soft tissues that wrap the bones. And even into the very marrow of your bones. Deep diving at its best. And then tune into the areas of spaciousness within yourself. The belly, and the chest, face, inside the head. The brain is just relaxing away from the outer surfaces of the skull. I always kind of imagine it just relaxing in a big puddle. And sense that feeling of space right behind the forehead, the third eye point. And imagine that space growing broader. They say that this space, the Ajna chakra, is the seat of our inner teacher. So then let the eyes deepen, the forehead broaden, and the cheeks soften. The tongue and the lips relax. And let the ears relax. And can you have that sense of letting the sound of my voice just come to you without you making any kind of pulling or any effort to draw the voice in? Just let it be. And then notice your jaw and see if you can soften the jaw a little, or maybe move the jaw very slightly from side to side, forward and back. Maybe make a little circle. So tiny. And I encourage you to make tiny movements, slow movements, because then the brain can take in more information. And then take a moment to just draw the chin down towards the chest and feel the back of the neck yawning open. And then let the elastic qualities of the muscles just let the head slowly return back. And again, feeling the contraction of the muscles at the front of the neck now. That makes the movement happen. And then allow the chin just to slowly drift back. And then one more time, kind of more of a 360-degree awareness, you'll feel the muscles at the front of the neck contract, while at the back of the neck they relax, which allows the whole of the movement to happen. And then that elastic return. So pause here, and then let's notice what happens in that global wave as we keep the head on the floor and lift the chin up. And now the muscles at the back of the neck are contracting, the muscles at the front are relaxing. And then allow the chin just to drift back to its starting point. Do that twice more. So head's resting heavily on the floor, and you're just lifting the chin up. Feel everything. Your own time. Slow on the performance of the movement, and even slower on the letting go, returning to neutral. And then that moment's pause. So throughout the body, the surface musculature, the skeletal musculature, the front and the back of the body are working together to make a movement happen. So when the muscles at the front and the back in this particular instance are both fully functional, they can contract fully and relax fully, you have a full, easy range of motion. Issues arise when you carry tension on one side as compared to the other. Everything becomes more difficult. The tighter side is very often painful and is restricted in its ability to contract more. And then the other side of the body is sort of more lax than it should be. And so there's all this compensation that takes place. So just notice if one of those movements, maybe just do one tucking of the chin towards the chest and letting it go, and then one chin lift up, and see, is one of those directions more familiar to you? Easier. Because what we do more of is going to be more familiar and easier for us. So if you're lifting your chin up, feels really easy, perhaps that's a habitual posture for you with the muscles at the back of the neck being more tight than the front, and vice versa. So our intention is to find the happy medium where the muscles on both sides of the body can work together to give an easy and fluid range of motion. So I'd like you to really cultivate this attitude of the observer as we work with the body. Don't have to make any judgments or try to draw any conclusions. It's all about the whole process of observing so that you give the brain more information to work with. So let's bring the awareness down to the legs and the feet resting on the floor, and just get a sense, is there symmetry in the way the feet are resting and the legs? Or do you sense that there's some different side to side? Weight, sensitivity, position. Just observe. And then feel the pelvis and have that same inquiry. The right and the left sides of the body, do they feel pretty well similar as you're resting here? Or is there some difference? What about the shoulder girdle? And what about the position of your arms? Are they resting symmetrically along your sides? Or is one further away from the sides of your body? Is one arm in a different position as compared to the other side? It's like taking a mental snapshot. And then the head, is it resting right at the back of the center of the head? Head's in a neutral position where the forehead and the front of the chin are pretty well at the same level relative to the floor, parallel to the floor. Or is your chin popping up or down? Does your head feel like it's pulling left or right? And I take a lot of time in class to go through the Soma scan in this way, but when you're practicing at home, just come down to the floor, relax, and just observe, have a global observation. And try to create a kind of a process for you to follow, but you don't have to take so much time at home. The more you do it, the easier it gets. So let's pinky toe slide 1 foot up at a time to stand on the floor. So feet are about hips width apart and in a position relative to the pelvis where you feel your low back is neither arching a lot away from the floor and naturally away from the floor, or pressing into the floor, but in a nice neutral position. And I'd like you just now, without changing anything, to notice your breath. And just even noticing your breath will change it. Even noticing the breath changes things is interesting. So I'd like you to just get a sense of where you feel the breath in your body. You feel it in the chest and the belly. You feel it more in the belly than the chest. Do you feel that the rib cage is broadening? Do you feel the breath in the back of the rib cage? And as your body expands around the breath, where do you sense that is happening from? There was a central point where the breath radiated from. Do you have that sense, or do you feel it's more like a linear process? No correct answer. It's really trying to have you deep dive into the subtleties of your own personal experience. And now we'll work with the arch and the flat movements. This is a fantastic movement that I do every single day without fail. Different positions. Lying on the back is really the best, I think. It gives you so much feedback for your pelvis and your shoulder girdle. But you could do this on lying on your stomach, on your side, sitting in a chair. But if you think about some of the major movements of the spine are flexion and extension, and this will help to rebalance those muscles, that muscular action along the spine. So it's so good. So you can bring your hands to the level of the waistline. I always encourage a lot of putting hands on yourself so you can get extra feedback for the brain. And at the level of the waistline, so the fingers span forward towards the front of the body and the thumb is hooking towards the back. So there's your somatic center. And I'd like you to think about arching your low back away from the floor slightly so that you'll feel your pelvis rolling down its center, so that you'll feel the tailbone pressing more firmly into the floor. And then just let that go. So let the muscles at the low back, the level of the waistline, relax you back to your starting point. So let's just do that a couple of times. Arching at the level of the waistline, feeling the pelvis roll, tailbone presses down more firmly into the floor, and then let that go even more slowly and take a moment to relax. We're pandiculating the muscles alongside the low back region, the lumbar region. So we're contracting. Let's do that once more. Slow, deliberate contraction, observing the muscles on the right side of the back and the left side. Do they feel similar or different? Is it pain-free? And then slow release, and this is part of the educational or the re-education process, is through the release. And then that moment's relaxation for the brain to process that information. So do that one more time. Feeling the contraction of the low back, noticing at the front of the body the muscles are lengthening to allow movement to happen. And then as you let go of the contraction, what's the quality of the movement? Is it smooth or shaky? Every observation that you make enhances the benefit of the practice. Now we're going to add a little something to really make you work. I'd like you to do that arch again. You'll feel your tailbone pressing familiarly into the floor, but can you sense that your pubic bone is moving downwards towards the base of the mat? And then as you release the arch, just notice the pubic bone kind of sliding back. And then do that again and get a sense of the relationship, the movement between the pubic bone and the tailbone as you arch your low back away from the floor. And then as you release it, how that they become kind of more in line with one another. So if you like now, you can bring your hands to rest on your lower belly. You can change your position. You don't have to listen to what I'm doing or suggesting. So always feel as though you're as comfortable as you can. And now we'll work with the flatten. So we're going to take in a breath into the belly, feel the belly soft and expansive. On the exhalation, draw the belly in towards the spine, and then allow the low back to press gently into the floor. So we're flattening the belly, but we're also kind of flattening the low back. And then release the belly muscles and release the low back to come back into its neutral position. Again, breathing in. You can arch if you like. It's perfectly fine. And then be aware of your neutral starting point or your neutral position as you draw the belly inwards, feeling the belly muscles contract under the hands and the low back flatten. So moving with your own breath, breathing in, feeling the low back muscles contract, the belly is relaxing. And then on the exhalation, the belly is contracting and the low back is relaxing. They're working together to give you this range of motion. So try to have this global vision here of what's happening front and back. And for an extra added challenge, as you breathe in, what's happening to the breadth of your waistline? Can you feel it expanding maybe just by a millimeter or two? And then as you contract your belly, can you feel that there's this girdling inwards of the musculature? And at that level of the somatic center, can you have that 360-degree picture in your mind of that circle, that somatic circle at the center, expanding and contracting? And then for one more challenge, as you inhale and arch the low back away from the floor, feel what your pubic bone is doing. And then on the exhalation, as you flatten your low back into the floor, can you feel the pubic bone moving upwards in the direction of the navel? Do that one more time and get that picture in your mind of your pubic bone and your tailbone moving in this synchronistic way. And then you can let it go, let it all go when you're ready. Bring your feet together now and your knees together, and very gently press your knees in towards one another. And can you feel the inner leg line, inner seam of your legs activate, and then slowly open your legs away from one another, maybe 15 degrees or so, just so you feel a release there. And then come back to, not all the way to press, but just so you bring the knees in closer together so you feel the activation, more subtle activation. And then as you're ready, you can inhale and open the legs, maybe a little further apart, always within your comfort zone, so you can feel that inner leg line relaxing. And so by degrees, you can swing the legs up, exhaling, swinging the legs in just to feel a contraction. And then inhaling and letting the legs open a little more so you can really sense that release. So now let's bring the legs back up slowly to touch. What's the quality of that movement? Are the legs moving symmetrically, or is one leg more jumpy, shaky, quaky, sensitive than the other? So these are interesting things when we encounter them. And the brain just lights up and goes, yahoo, wow, excellent. That's happening, I wasn't aware. That's what my brain says anyways. So now bring the legs up to press gently towards one another, or just have the legs touching, the inner leg seam touching. You're going to breathe into the belly now. Expand the belly, arch the low back gently away from the floor. On the exhalation, contract the low belly in, let the low back flatten into the floor, and press your knees in towards one another. Really seal in that contraction all the way from your feet, all the way to your pelvis. And then as you're ready, inhale and release the belly, arch the low back away from the floor, and allow the legs to open to a degree that feels easy. And feel that feeling of openness all the way down the center line of your body down to the feet. Let's do a couple more of these. Exhaling, contracting the belly, flattening the back, pressing the legs in, and really feel that deepening, that coming to center. And then inhaling, letting the belly relax, the low back arch to support this release as the knees open. And then exhale, and very slowly as you can, challenge those muscles on the inner thighs to contract. They are part of your deep core function. It's good for them to be part of the whole picture. So now let's snow angel the arms out to about shoulder height, and just feel that stability through the shoulder girdle. The knees are coming up and pointing up towards the ceiling, and we'll just do an easy wash right now. Just let the brain relax. Nothing to learn here, just to experience the legs swaying happily from side to side, and the head rolling in opposition. And it's really just, if you can imagine the spiraling action of the center line of your body, the central axis of your body, your spine is just having this lovely spiraling action. Nice massage. So just let tensions go, let the brain relax, because all of this focusing is hard work. It's a great opportunity to just let some of it go. And when you're ready, you can come back to center and just hug the knees up towards the chest, and just any movement that appeals to you here. Circular massage around the sacrum. Have your knees together and rock your pelvis around, and then go in the opposite direction. Is this an area of your body that is a bit cranky sometimes, that talks to you? Sacroiliac joints. I once had sciatica that, oh my God, I have a real deep sympathy for anybody who suffers that, or you know, if one of the wings of the ilium, the hemipelvis, it kind of just slips off of its groove that's on the sacrum. It's profoundly painful. So it's really good to keep these muscles in this area fully functional, liberated, so there's no strong pulls on any part of the bones to pull them out. So bring your feet back down to the floor, to stand your feet on the floor. And you've heard me talking about the psoas a lot. So in the region of the pelvis, there's muscles that line the inside of the wings of the pelvis called the iliacus muscles. And the actual medical or the scientific term for the psoas muscle is the, I've forgotten it, iliac, never mind. I'll get back to you on that one. But it refers to both of the muscles, because in the region of the pelvis, the iliacus muscle kind of grows into the psoas. And if you can picture, I always think of the iliac bones like the ears of Mickey Mouse. And the iliacus muscle they're on the inside of those curved cups and join into the psoas. And you can have one of your iliacus muscles be tighter than the other, and then it creates a tremendous pull, tug of war on your pelvic region. So I'd like you to take this opportunity now to get acquainted with your iliacus muscles, and they're really deep. So bring your hands to your lower belly, and I'd like you to think about the surface muscles of your belly going on vacation, and deep dive all the way down to the level of your bones, the inside of your pelvis, and say hello. I'd like you to inhale now and very gently arch your low back away from the floor, and perhaps you can sense the psoas muscles and the iliacus muscles lengthening. And then on the exhalation, allow your low back and your low back to flatten, and your pelvis will be tilting, and then continue to hook your pubic bone upwards in the direction of your navel, and perhaps you can sense a very deep contraction close to the bone. And then release that. So always within your comfort zone, no strain, because as we're contracting deep in the front bowl of the pelvis, we're really lengthening out the back of the body, and for some people that can be quite sensitive. So be very gentle with yourself. Let's do that once more so you can just really get a sense of it. Inhaling and gently arching the low back away from the floor. Pubic bone lengthens towards the base of the mat, and all those front muscles are relaxed. On the exhalation, flatten the low back into the floor, but try not to engage the surface muscles too much, but then feel the pubic bone moving upwards, and then curl it upwards a little more, and can you sense deep close to the bone? That's your iliacus muscles. And then let it go. So we'll only do 2 of those for now. I just really want you to get a sense of those muscles, because for a lot of people, you can imagine that if those muscles are tight or lax, either one of those 2, it's going to affect how the sacrum is in relationship with the lumbar spine, the L5S1 position. That's can be a real problem spot for a lot of people in terms of joint space loss. Anyways, so let's hug the knees in towards the chest again. Have some movement here. And then if you like, you can pick your head up and bring your forehead up towards your knees, and take a moment to do a little navel gazing. And then slowly release down. And let your feet stand on the floor. And we've kind of been thinking about the relationship of the knees to the pelvis, to the spine. And I'd like you now to, we're just going to do for fun, just to challenge us a little more, do another variation which kind of brings the feet into the whole equation. So with your feet standing on the floor, feel the ball of your foot, of the feet standing on the floor and the heels. And to a small degree, I'd like you to inhale and arch your low back away from the floor. Rock your feet so that your heels are lifted slightly. Keep the ball of the foot on the floor. And then on the exhalation, allow your low back to flatten, your heels to land, belly draws in towards the spine, and then lift the balls of the feet up away from the floor. Inhale, everything back to neutral. Arch the low back away from the floor, belly relaxes, come up, rock onto the balls of the feet. Exhale, as the back goes through neutral, so do the feet. Flatten the low back, flatten the belly, and draw the toes up towards the shins, keeping the heels on the floor. So add this in, inhaling, arching, coming onto the balls of the feet. Can you sense that the front of the shins and feet are lengthening as the belly is relaxing and lengthening? And then exhale, flatten the low back, contract the belly, and lift the forefoot away from the floor. So now you're contracting the front of the lower leg and the shin. Just do a couple more so you can really just feel this relationship. And then let that go, relax. Let's take the arms out to a T position once again. And we better do something for the arms, otherwise they're going to feel neglected. So we'll do a proper wash rag. So let your legs fall over towards the left. Turn the left palm down towards the floor. Head rolls in towards the right, and the right palm turns up. Inhale, everything back to neutral. Both palms are up, nose and knees are up, and then exhale over to the other side. Left palm up, right palm down, knees are down to the right. Inhale back to center and over to the other side. And then once you can wrap your mind around all of those different parts and pieces of this movement, can you allow your arms to just roll like there are a couple of rolling pins? So the movement of the body becomes an extension of the breath. Is there some piece or part of your body that is kind of not really feeling like it's integrated in the whole body movement, that's kind of lagging, or you have to consciously move it? So the head is moving in opposition to the legs. And then I'd like you to pause, looking towards one open palm, so to one side. And I love this visual. It really works for me. Maybe it doesn't work for you. But imagine a golden ball of warm light resting in that open palm. And then as you bring both palms, if you let your legs go over to the left, sorry. And then as you bring the legs and the nose back to center, allow that palm to spin around, and imagine that ball rolling up the length of your arm across the heart, down the other arm to land in the other palm. Inhale everything to center, let that open palm spin around so that ball of light rolls up and across and lands in the other hand. Just really visualize this, really challenge your mind to imagine this. And then once you can imagine it, can you imagine the warmth and the vitality, the life force that you're soaking up as this ball of light, this pranic ball, rolls up and across your chest and your heart and illuminates everything in its path and just melts away any tightness or tension. And the next time your legs are over to one side, sweep the other arm up and over so you come all the way to lie on your side and draw yourself up, your knees up into a little ball, your chin towards your chest. Take a moment to assume the position and the shape of a seed. So a nice little ball of energy that you're nourishing in the depths of yourself. Take the opportunity to really let go of effort, mental and physical. Can you feel the after effects of that energetic exchange between your imagination and your body, brain? And then roll all the way over onto your belly when you're ready. So make sure that you're nice and comfortable here. I love coming into crocodile with the arms stacked one over top of another. If you have glasses on, you can put them aside. If you need a blanket or some extra support underneath the pelvis, please take care of that. And then again, come to Soma Scan in this position. Remember when we were kids watching the TV set, laying on our stomach for hours, or at least a half an hour for a TV show? That spinal extension position was much more natural. A supple spine. And we lose this ability for the spine to be supple, especially as we get older and we're subject to our postural habits. Even our good postural habits like bike riding or golfing or tennis, they all, more we do of something, the more there's a muscular imprint of patterning into the body, which over time can create asymmetries in the function of the body, compensations. So from this position, I'd like to explore that extension of the spine that comes from having the muscles alongside the spine at the back be strong and functional, while the muscles at the front of the upper back are able to release and let go. So we'll do this as a very gentle pandiculation, so just always be comfortable. It doesn't have to be a big movement, and remember, you can always imagine it. So thinking about your spine from about the level of the heart, maybe just down below the level of the heart, all the way up to between the shoulder blades to the base of your head, I'd like you to think of keeping this line long and open and elastic. So I'd like you to float your head up and away from the floor, keeping the back of the neck long, nice and slowly, so you feel those muscles either side of the back of the spine turning on. Keep coming up so that you can feel the muscles turning on. Maybe how far down the spine can you feel? And do you feel like you're lengthening still as you do that lift? Feel the full extent of the engagement within your comfort zone, and then very slowly release out of it so that you can feel the fibers of muscles let go of their contraction as they're not needed to do the work. So how is that for you? Is that familiar territory? For people who have green light reflex, where the muscles at the back of the body are more dominant in the on position than the front, this is an easy thing to do. This is like a homecoming. So just notice that. So do that again, using the breath to float the head up and then the shoulders up. Coming all the way up as far as you comfortably can. And then slowly, slowly releasing down. Let this be a pendiculation, remember? Contraction, deliberate contraction, slow release, and then a moment's relaxation. So now maybe let the head roll side to side. How does your neck feel? So the beauty of this somatic work is that whether you're green light reflex or red light reflex, everybody's going to benefit from this, because for people who have weak muscles at the back of the neck, they're going to get stronger. And for people who carry a lot of tension in those muscles, it's going to help to reset the resting tone to a more relaxed place. And then let your head roll easily from side to side, just to help to dissipate any residual tensions there, because the head is really heavy. And I'd like you to explore the difference here between rolling across your forehead and rubbing your forehead over your hands. Totally different thing. Rolling is releasing, and rubbing is really using a lot of neck musculature. So neither one is right or wrong, they're just really different. And I'd like you to let go for now. So then when you're come back to center, restack your hands so that the other hand is on top. And I'd like you to keep your head on your hands and your hands on the floor. And I'd like you to float your elbow tips up and away from the floor within your comfort zone. Can you feel how that slides your shoulder blades together and activates the rhomboid muscles between the shoulder blades? They're more surface. And then slowly, slowly, slowly lower down and completely relax. So we have the paraspinal muscles on the bones themselves for the extension, and then the rhomboid muscles are stabilizers for the shoulder blades and the arms, and they're surface muscles. So now take your fingers out apart so that your fingers are in line with your temples. Your elbows are moving further away from the sides of your body. So your wings are a little bit, your wing span is wider. And we'll do that again. So with the inhalation, float the elbows slowly up. Feel the shoulder blades activate towards one another. And then slow as you can, let the elbows come down. Those rhomboid muscles, boy, they are another area that people carry a lot of tension or have a lot of laxness. So that's a nice way to activate that. So now I'd like you to just maybe do one more if that appeals to you. It's an exploration. And then slowly lower down. Is there a difference between the two sides? So for people who do the golfing or the tennis or do a lot of mousing, have one strongly dominant arm, the two sides may feel quite different, and you really hope that they're going to be able to be equally functional and strong. And then slowly come down and let your hands come down and your elbows come down. Take any movement that appeals to you. I think bending the knees here and letting the legs sway side to side and move around can feel pretty nice. You can circle the ankles around. And if you have low back tension here, you can think about that relationship between the pubic bone and the tailbone again. So whenever you're ready, no rush, you can bring your feet back to rest on the floor, toenails down at about hips width apart, with the heels pointing up. And I'd like you to gently press your pubic bone down into the floor. And can you feel how that reaches your tailbone out towards your heels? That really helps to stabilize through the pelvis and yawns open the low back there. So then let that go to a degree that you're not making a lot of effort, but you still feel that stabilizing influence. We're going to bring the awareness to your left leg now. And I'd like you to engage your left glute more than the right one, and then float that left leg up and away from the floor within your comfort zone, and then slowly, slowly lower down and completely relax everything. So that's one way of doing it. Now I'd like you to keep your glutes nice and relaxed and lift your left foot up and away from the floor, the knee, the thigh, maybe you feel how different that feels. And then slowly lower down. So go back to engaging the glute, that left glute, and allow the left leg to just float up. You're using big, huge muscle here to do the job of lifting the leg. Instead of the kinetic chain where you're starting with the small muscles at the end of the line and then moving into the bigger. So can you feel the difference? Is your glute a functional muscle, or is it kind of gone offline because of postural habits? Try the same thing on the other side. So maybe try just the leg without the glute and follow that kinetic chain of action from the foot to the calf, lower hamstring, upper hamstring, to the glute. Is it activating maybe into your low back? And then slowly lower down. And then try it with activating the right glute. Activate the glute and let the leg lift up. So that whole kinetic chain is important in our function. But boy, you really want to have glute muscles that are really truly functional, because they're some of the biggest muscles in the body. They may even be the biggest and most powerful. For people who do a lot of sitting, riding bikes, that sitting position, think about what the position of the glute is. It's kind of all lengthened out. So this is a really good practice. Let's do a cross-lateral integration here. So let's go back to the right leg, and we'll bring the right arm down along the side. Turn your face to look at that, bend to elbow. And we're going to take in a breath, and as you lift your elbow and your opposite foot away from the air, allow your whole back to move into a nice extension. Head, hand, elbow lifts up, and then slowly, slowly melt down. Always within your comfort zone. Take a melting moment. And we'll do that again with the elbow, foot, the head, and the hand, and the leg up. Make that connection, that cross-lateral connection of extension. The back of the body, the front of the body is lengthening, the back is contracting, so come down when you need. Move within your pain-free range of motion. Just a couple of times is enough, and then we'll go over to the other side. So just switch your limbs around. I'd like you to do the same thing, and just notice, is it easier in one diagonal or another to relate to the elbow and the foot? So breathe in, elbow, foot, head, hand, lift up into a nice bow-like shape. Bows are very strong structures. Cultivate that and let it go whenever you need to, slowly. maybe 2 times as you're ready, and remember you can visualize yourself doing it, lifting up, cultivating that strength and that length, that spaciousness, unfolding, and slowly let it go. Completely relax. And then you can bring both arms up under your head, bend your knees, and just let your legs sway side to side, and the head go side to side, or anything that feels good for you. Is your mind at ease and relaxed? Always take these little opportunities to just let everything go. And then let your legs come back down, and maybe extend the legs out towards the bottom corners of the mat. Plant your pubic bone to stabilize your pelvis. Bring your arms down along your sides. Chin towards the floor. And I'd like you to inhale and lift the soles of your feet and the palms of your hands and the back of your head up towards the ceiling, like you're a puppet. Feel all the muscles at the back of the body turning on, and then slowly let it go. Turn your head to one side as you come to land your limbs and your head and completely relax. As you like, breathe in and float up into a place of strength. Squeeze the glutes, lift the back of the head, keep the back of the neck open, press the palms up, activate the spinal, the paraspinals, and the rhomboids. Everything is on. Smile in your heart, and then slowly, slowly come down. Turn the other cheek. Take a melting moment. You can rest here and visualize another cycle, or if you're feeling frisky this morning, inhale and slowly come up. Feel it's a whole party going on there. The whole back surface of your body is waking up, getting stronger, and then letting go very slowly as you can. And everything can relax and get longer. A couple of cycles on each side. Just really feeling it. This is super person pose. Squeeze the glutes. Squeeze the shoulder blades. And let it all go. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Draw the elbows in close to the sideline of your body to begin to activate your rhomboid muscles. As you lift your shoulders and your head up and away from the floor, come into an upper body extension. Yogis will recognize this as the cobra pose. So you don't need your hands. All that musculature at the back of the body is supporting you here. And then slowly lower down. Tuck the chin, turn the head to one side, let the elbows and the heels fall away from one another. When you're ready, inhale, bring the head back to neutral, engage the pubic bone down, squeeze the glutes, lift your shoulders away from the floor, draw the shoulders in towards one another in the head, and you can lift your feet if you like. Flying cobra. Now there's a terrifying image. And then lower down. Turn the other cheek. Smile because we're done with this. And then we're going to push up and back into tabletop. So use your elbows, activate your rhomboids, activate the paraspinals, and then press into the hands. They don't have to work so hard to get you up and back into a lovely child's pose. So the knees can be apart or together, and you don't have to get the glutes down towards the heels. I'd like you to think about letting the length of your spine have a nice yawn-like experience. So child's pose is meant to be a resting pose. Is it a resting pose for you?
No.
No, not for a lot of people. What could you do to accommodate it being a resting pose? Stacking your wrists underneath your forehead, or your forehead under your arms. Some people really like to put a bolster there. You can separate the knees to let the torso come a little closer towards the floor. But for some people, it's just not possible. In which case, I'd recommend you roll over and lie on your back and hug your knees in towards your chest. For people who have cranky knees, a nice option can be to keep the knees over, the hips over the knees, so the legs are more at a right angle. Interlace the fingers, elbows nice and wide, and then just kind of park the crown of your head forward into that basket of the hands. You can really get that feeling of still lengthening, letting the whole back line of your spine yawn open. So in this position, it may be awkward for some. Is there some place within your experience that you could use your breath to create a little more ease from the inside? And let's come all the way up to seated. And so for some people, this kneeling position is comfortable, and for others not. So if it's good for you to linger there for a moment, enjoy that. And then we'll just sit over to the right side. You can separate your legs so that the right heel is touching somewhere around the front of your left thigh. You can position your legs so that you're comfortable. That left hip, that sitting bone is up and away from the floor. Let's just rest into that right arm. That's a bit of a prop. We'll bring the left hand over in front of the shoulder. And we're just going to, you can have the hand over the heart too, sometimes that's helpful. And we're going to just turn the heart around to the right and let the head look over the right shoulder. And then slowly, slowly come back. Think about the heart. And back to center. And then turn the head to look over the left shoulder. Do that again. All the way up and over. Let that left hip lift up. Look back behind. And then slowly come back. Plant that left hip a little closer to the floor. And even raise that elbow up if you like, and look over the elbow as you look back behind, and then around and in front. One more time, just notice, is this movement, do you have more range of motion, more freedom of movement as compared to the first one that you did? And then let that go. Let's bring the feet to stand. And we'll just do a little buttock massage. They worked hard for us. I had a teacher who always said buttock. Buttock. So whether you relate to the butt or the hawk, covers all the bases, so to speak. And whenever you're ready, over to the other side. So we will be using props as of next week, I think. If everybody could bring a clean towel, a big bath towel, that's clean, we can start to use our props if we're very careful. We are very mature people here, responsible. So let's do this side now. So just explore. You can have the elbow down if that's more comfortable. I just want you to really feel that spiraling action of the spine and its connection to the pelvis. And as you work in this way, spiraling around, lots of freedom of movement in the upper spine, and you feel how that lends itself to releasing into the pelvis. And then let that go. Come back to feet. Take a little bit more massaging action here. And then let's come to some sort of a seated position. So without a prop to sit on, for some of us, we find our knees are quite a lot higher than our hips. So this is option number one. I need a little prop. So you can also take extended leg position. You can stand your feet nice and wide. So find a position where you really feel that your spine can be nice and erect. Let's move around in a way that feels good. We're all different, so find a position. Release some tension. And we're going to take the arms out to the sides. Reach the crown up towards the sky. I'm going to inhale and sweep the arms up. Look up. And then exhale and sweep the arms down. Look down. Inhale. Lift the gaze, lift the heart, lift the hands, and then exhale. Let it all go, chin to the chest, fingers to the floor. And I'd like you to feel your shoulder blades at the back of your body, sliding on the back surface of your body, up and down. And can you sense that as you sweep your arms up, that the shoulder blades are sliding down? A couple of counterweights. And then as the arms come down, they slide up. So if you have a cranky shoulder, it's interesting to see, are your shoulder blades moving freely and symmetrically? Let that go. Throw the shoulders up towards the ears and then melt them down. Let's do that again. Floating the shoulders up. Activate the muscles at the